sector that you go, they will always say that there are no resources, and true, there are no resources. And that is why you find our young people, even now after COVID, you look at our young people who are on the roads trying to do gymnastics and trying to just get a living. And so you can imagine if they had resources to just boost themselves and put a place where they can just go and entertain people, they will be able, Mr. Speaker, to have a living, but more importantly, to employ others. And I think when you read this motion, you get excited that indeed, further, and to see that this House will resolve and the ministry formulates a policy ring-fencing the 2% of the monies. As Dr. said, I think we need to use Uwezo Fund more differently now. And that Uwezo Fund should go to young people who have talents, who are within our constituencies, in our wards, and who are able already. They are trying to do something, but they are running around. They come, they ask you, Mheshimiwa, assist us with this, buy us an equipment, buy us an innovation that we are able, even just putting up an hub and to create hubs that can now create employments for others. This resource can really support. And therefore, even in terms of imports, we are talking about building Kenya. Yes, we build Kenya, but we need to take them to train. We need to ask the government to even go beyond and give us an incentive for young people so that when they bring in their equipments, so that they are able to have equipments to finish that value chain and to be a value chain that is marketable in market. And so this 2%, many will think that it's a small resource, but to young people in this country to get equipment so that they are able to boost their different innovations, I think it is important this House resolves, as our honorable member says, that 2% from Uwezo Fund. Because when you look at Uwezo Fund today, we have some who took the money, who believed this is a resource of government. They never refunded, Mr. Speaker. There are those who wished to see the resource, but they were unable even to access that resource. There are those who are wondering, was it only for trade? And so young people with their innovations, not all of them will go to trade in a market. Most of them will want to have an application, an app to do something on their phone, digitize any innovation that they think for, come up with different apps that can do quite a number of things within our constituencies. And therefore, as I support this, I just want to thank the Honorable Kiarie, and indeed to thank you that you are also giving us food for the children of Dagoretti North, that today they are able to find lunch in their schools. We want to say thank you. And indeed, I'm hoping, even as we go forward, that there are many things we'll work together.
Dear Honorable Sergon Jematia, Honorable Sergon Jematia, you got the mic. You have the mic with you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. From the onset, I want to thank Honorable KJ, who is my chair in my committee of ICT, for this very important motion before us today. And I must say that this motion has come at the right time, because we live in a country, or Kenya today is facing a lot of unemployment, but we are overlooking the importance of artisans in this country. First thing first, the artisans, or the work of artisans and talented, or God's gift that has been there for the longest in our lives. Because when we grew up, we used to see our mothers doing a lot of handwork. Some of us went to school during the art and crafts lessons, when we were exposed to use our own skills and develop our own talents. Mr. Speaker, I must say that this country is in the best time because of the innovations and the exposure to internet that we have in Kenya today. And unemployment is going to be sorted and solved when we give opportunity to young people, women, and talented people who can innovate and make money at their comfort zones or through the computers, for instance, through YouTube's, Spotify, and help them generate income, not necessarily through white-collar jobs. If you look at most of the artisans that we have in this country, we have people who make very nice ushanga, for instance, like the Maasais and the Maa community. These are custom-made. You can never get it anywhere else. If you ask and if you request to have a good beadwork, like a necklace, for instance, you can get it in a very special way, quality, durable, and these are the things that we need to encourage our people to continue having it. We also have carvings and brickworks, for instance. Music is one of the things that has been controlling the world. Through music, talents and money has been made because you are able to sit down and generate your own income in your own way. And therefore, I support this motion. But on the rather that, Honorable KJ has requested that it should be, they should do it through CDF. But I want to also remind the House that we already have an NGAF, which already have exposed these artisans through social money that we get through NGAF. Because NGAF money is not always, not for development, probably for roads and buildings of, it is mainly socio-economic. And this is socio-economic is well articulated well in NGAF. And I would want to say that as much as my colleague has brought it through CDF, I want to say through the floor that it could be also important for us to enhance this money through the national NGAF money, so that, because it is actually picking out from the same roles that NGAF is playing. We are targeting youth, we are targeting women, we are targeting people with disability. So as much as we want, or my colleague has brought it up through CDF, I think NGAF could take care of this very well. And I am asking that probably we'll be doing amendments going forward that this money should be kept in the women NGAF, so that we are able to do it better, because we are the people who are always exposed to this, the cohorts in the society. The startups, for instance, we will be the best to implement because we sit down and we interact with the women in the grassroots. And I would be seeking indulgence through my colleague that when we'll be doing the amendments and taking forward this bill or motion, I will want to ask him to include that this money should be taken back to the NGAF instead of the CDF. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Samuel Moroto.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, to have given me also this chance to support this motion. I want to congratulate KJ for coming with this good idea. The way others have said about him, I saw him when he was young. And then one time, we were taking tea with Moi and Kamoto K. Then we saw him, and he's a friend. Another one was acting like Moi, another one was acting like Kamoto. And these two guys were really enjoying. I also enjoyed. I thought they were going to be annoyed about it, but they really enjoyed. And here now today, he has brought up a motion, which I know, with the support of this House and the current government that we have, I know will go far. Mr. Speaker, when we talk about these artists, I remember even in my press, one time there was the neighboring communities which were not seeing each other That is the Karamojong of Uganda, the Sebei of Uganda, the Bokot and the Turkana. As Mr. Speaker, there is a time when an athlete, Tekla Lorope, came up with a kind of a peace caravan where initiated artists to come together from all these communities, and really they entertain. And you see, they're just speaking from their own languages, teaching their people on how to behave. And never they change. Up to now, you cannot hear these communities fighting. Equally, as a member here has mentioned about Omondi and Churchill. Both were students here in Daystar University. Mr. Speaker, there was a time when Omondi could not even raise even half of his fee for his education. But you see now where he is, the position he has is so beyond even some of us who are there paying for ourselves and maybe earning. So this thing here, I want to say, Ms. Honorable Kiari, this young man here, you have brought a very good idea. And others, yeah, I know other young men are now following, and they are prepared to do something. And always, Mr. Speaker, why we talk of this one here, let us, like one member here said, let us walk the talk. Because I know most of the time, some of us have been here for a long time, you can raise something very good here, but it will not see. You will find, yeah, the light of the day. You will get that the papers you get it from here is gathering dust in a certain corner, and nothing that will benefit the Kenyans. I think we need to be serious on this one here. And then we also have to get a right committee from this house that will do a follow-up. Otherwise, if we say now we are going to do this, we are going to do this, somebody will come and say, okay, get us where money is. And yet there is resources being wasted elsewhere without any, doing a tangible thing that can touch the hearts or the lives of Kenyans the way this one is going to do, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, I don't want to say much because my colleagues have said, and I know we will have to support this thing here. I stand here to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the point at hand is the whole issue of resourcing artisans. But I want to believe KJ may need to do a little bit more work in terms of when we're talking about artisans. Who are these artisans? I think there's a very big problem in terms of definition. Like I hear many members when they're talking, some are like referring to people who are in the music and entertainment industry. But when you look at this in the stricter sense of it, they are artisans who are career-wise or professional-wise through some training. Then there are those who are artisans based on learning on job, apprenticeship. Then there are those who are they are artisans, but based on the kind of like they have done non-academic skill development arrangements. So the whole issue of definition here, KJ, may be very, very critical. So that when we are talking about resourcing, we are resourcing what kind of an artisan? Are we resourcing that who is in the music industry? Is that an artisan or is an artist? And when you look at that, I want to give an example. There is a professor of mathematics in Maseno who does a lot in music. And to him, music is either like a hobby or is like part of entertainment. But he's a professional mathematician, and he's a lecturer at the Maseno University. So when you look at people who are in the music or entertainment industry and you call them artisans, then this needs to be redefined. We need to check this properly. So Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to look at, having artisans in their very global sense for purpose of resourcing, we need to check, such that we really resource artisans that really require resources. There are those who are coming up like apprenticeship. There are those who are, in terms of those who are doing the trade test arrangement, the trade tests. Those are the artisans that are very clearly known in terms of career development. They do trade test 1, 2, 3, and you remember, Mr. Speaker, there is no professional that is minus an artisan under them.
The Honorable Kiari wants to inform you. Do you want
It's
to be
okay.
informed?
Information, any good person must allow for information.
And Honorable Kiari you will not debate. You will inform and allow him to proceed with the debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I was not intending to interrupt the good gentleman, the Honorable Ochanda. I just wanted, and I'm glad for his magnanimity to accept to be informed. But in the life of the last Parliament, Mr. Speaker, this House, in its own wisdom, did go through the process of passing a bill that went a long way in forming artists register. And in that artist register, if the Honorable Ochanda would remember, we were able to describe very ably who an artist is, who an artisan is, and who an innovator is. And I'm really glad that he did bring this up, because he's able to also inform the debate as it goes on. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I do thank the Honorable Ochanda for bringing that up. Thank you very much.
Is apt, and that's the kind of information that if all members, when they are contributing to this, were aware that there was that kind of a definition, I think that would have been very good. But if you get the kind of a debate that is running across the floor since this started, it's like members are not very clearly aware of what kind of artisans are we talking about. So the motion, the way it is drafted, needed to have indicated when we are talking about an artisan, who is it, so that it guides members in debate. Because members are thinking that artisans are people who are cartoonists, people who are in the music industry. So look at the discussion. I think that's where the problem is. But if you look at it in the strictest sense of what we are talking about, there are people who are artisans based on their own career development. They do trade test 1 all through, and you are supposed to be, you have the space to do a technical level, then you have to do a professional level. So if you look at it that direction, then definitely there are those who are already placed. But then there are those who have learned on the job, what we call apprenticeship. They are in Juakali, they are in Kikomba, they are all manner of places. They have learned how to do some of these things, skill development under some professionals, under some people who have technical know-how. These are the people that we really need to be talking about when we are talking about resourcing. And when we are talking about resourcing, it means that we don't need to target an existing fund that has a purpose. We need to target funds that are supposed to be clearly isolated for that kind of a scheme, Mr. Speaker. So that's what I wanted to guide the House, Mr. Speaker, as we move forward.
Mr. Speaker, I rise. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that clarification, if anybody was thinking that you're favoring me. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion for a number of reasons, but I'm going to cite only a few. If this country is going to grow, as we all intend to have Kenya grow economically, industrialization is one of the ways to go. And we're going to get the bulk of industrialization from the artisans, from what they do and what they contribute to the economy. And therefore, two, a lot of our youth are in this sector of the economy, in all kinds of skills that they display and as artisans. And we know that the population of our youth in this country is about 70%, and about 68% is unemployed. So if we want to tackle the problem of unemployment, we need to support our artisans as a way of solving that problem. Number three, Mr. Speaker, we have huge potential in the international market for Kenyan products which we hardly exploit. For example, under the AGOA, in the US market, we hardly exploit the opportunities there. We hardly exploit 10%. So by supporting our artisans to be able to develop and produce the goods and services, we'll probably be able to be tapping into that market and taking advantage of what's been provided by the US market. But we also need to be cognizant of the full chain of artisanry. We need to be aware of where the ideas are generated, how we guard the ideas so that they are not appropriated by unscrupulous business people and other investors, particularly the foreign investors. So through protecting the intellectual property rights of these people who create and come about with these ideas. We also need to be able to nurture these ideas so that they are properly developed through institutions by providing adequate financing, by having the TVETs, for example. Where I come from, my constituency, Mr. Speaker, we don't have a TVET. I hope that in the next few years, next year, we should be having a TVET so that we can be able to have our artisans trained, our apprentices trained, so that they can be able to contribute to the economy. I'm not very confident that the 2% we are asking for is going to be adequate to support the artisans. Probably we need to go back and do the math and be able to come up with a figure that's going to be adequate in supporting the artisans, because they play a very critical role in contributing to unemployment, to the economy, and all of that. Mr. Speaker, all the economies that have developed, all the economies that have been gone through industrialization phase have had to use their innovators. They have got to use all their people who have the bright ideas of creativity to be where they are. Therefore, Kenya should not be left behind by neglecting its artisans. If anything, we should be investing in them so that we can develop and have Kenya become the middle-income economy as well, where we desire to be. We need to develop many silicon valleys in our regions, in our constituencies. And the way of developing these silicon valleys is by having adequate financing, the resources, encouraging these people, and giving them all that they need to be able to make a contribution in the economy. Mr. Speaker, I beg to support, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to congratulate the KJ, Honorable from Dagoretti South, on this motion. In my understanding, the motion covers both artists, artisans, and innovation and innovators. And to this end, I think we will be able to bring in a huge group of our population that has been out there, unable to be able to expand their ideas and also to bring out the talent that is within themselves. This allocation, first I want to say, KJ, we may need, Honorable KJ, we may need to expand more on the percentage that we are asking on this. Probably 5% of the CDF allocation would be able to cater for this. In my mind, I have the many groups, the youth, musicians in my constituency, Bureti, those both who do various choirs and also those who do different kind of music, including the traditional dancers, being organized into groups that they may be able to present themselves to the market and be able to earn from their talents. While we are in the campaigns, Mr. Speaker, I noticed so many youth peddling portraits, paintings, and drawings of politicians, selling them, some of them hawking them. This will really come in handy to be able to help such youth to be able to do the paintings, be able to do the drawings and the many things out of their art, and be able to earn a living and be members of of the society. Number two, this will also provide us with opportunities to be able to bring together such kind of groups and such kind of members of society. If, in an example, we are able to create recording studios within our constituencies for the musicians, how much will that be able to go into solving the problems that we have within the youth community in our constituencies? However, I have these thoughts also, that we are aware that the Kenya Kwanza government is also planning on this, the hustler, the bottom-up approach, the hustler fund. I would implore upon KJ to start looking upon ways and means of actually including this motion as part of a clause to be able to anchor it within the law, so that we'll be able to have our musicians, our artists, our artisans, and also the innovators to be able to participate within what we are calling the bottom-up approach. Including this will be even the social media influencers. I'm aware that a lot of the social media sites that we have are able to help these youth to earn a living out of the work that they do, whether is it TikTok or in whatever form that they are involving themselves in. If we are able to help these guys, even by training them or presenting them with opportunities with other environments or other groups of communities that have engaged in such kind of work, for us, the only thing that we are seeking is that people should be able to earn a living out of their talents. Kenyans should be able to obtain revenues out of the work that they're able to do, however that comes through. And if by supporting this motion, we are bringing this on board, I would be glad that this be part of the constituency fund, be funded through the constituency fund, and so that our people may be able to participate. Otherwise, I support the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, my brother KJ, for this particular motion. This is a very important motion. Amid unemployment is generating employment for the youth. Like if you look at my constituencies, we have youth who are making hydro pumps, as well as people are making wood carves. So if you look at countries like China, Korea, they have developed through innovations. So these are very important motion, and I fully support it. Ideally, this particular motion should actually be entrenched in the CDF, because in principle, Mr. Speaker, we should be earning foreign exchange through sale of local artisans. And some of the proposal to make in this particular motion, in including zero rating products made by local artisans, so that at least we promote them and we generate markets for them. Importantly, we need to commit our embassies abroad basically to market products made by local artisans. So, Mr. Speaker, this is important, and we also need to commit funds, because most of the local artisans, they lack money to be able to enhance their skills. Like my brother mentioned this morning, we also need to specify, when we talk of local artisans, which local artisans are we talking about? Because I don't think these particular motions cuts across in terms of talking about musicians and others, but we are talking of artisans who are making skills to produce handmade products. So I fully support the motion, and happy that my brother KJ was able to bring it to the House. Thank you.
Well, thank you much, Bwana Speaker. I want to add my voice to this motion by KJ. That has come immediately after elections. We have experience in using the artisans during elections, and they have helped us to this much. We have used the artisans properly in their music, in their all aspects of their capacities, and this has come to at the right time, because before getting into the other national issues, before we forget what these experiences that these artisans took us through during elections, it is so enormous that we are using them without knowing that they have to get to earn a living. we use them in their capacities, in their knowledge, in their abilities, and this is the time we'll put this into law. We want to put it into law because it is a well-researched topic, a well-researched motion, that it is coming from a person who has had experience, who has had the challenges from all this experience that he has for the period that he worked, he served this Kenya within the time he acted with other artisans. I want to say that this has come from a person who has had experience, has had the potential, and has seen the wealth of experience that this value, this aspect of putting them into recognition is going to be appreciated by the whole of the communities of Kenya. These artisans have a lot of ideas. They have a lot of intelligence. They have developed a lot because other people have made a living from them. We want to put them that they get a living directly from the people that they have served from the dailies. I want to say that this is creating employment. This is creating employment because it gives them recognition all over the world that we want to address the local talent. The local talents that have been misused for a very long time by either politicians. We have made use of them. We have made use of their resourcefulness, but this is the time we have to make them understand we appreciated the much that they did for us during the campaign, and going forward, we want to give them value for whatever they are doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member for Makueni, the Honorable Rose Museo. Which one? Okay. It's not working. Okay. Asante Speaker kwa nafasi hiyo ambayo umenipatia nikaweze kuchangia katika mada hii ambayo ni mada muhimu sana hasa kwa Wakenya. Nashukuru Mheshimiwa Kiarie kwa kuweza kuleta mada hii ambayo pia inasaidia sana. Niseme ya kwamba tumekaa sana tukiangalia wasanii wengi katika nafasi za uimbaji, nafasi za uigizaji, wale ambao pia wamepata talanta za kuweza kujaliwa kutengeneza vitu. Lakini serikali haijachukua hatua hasa kubwa ya kuweza kuangalia ni vipi wangeweza kuboresha usanii huu kwa watu hao ambao wamepatiwa talanta hizi. Niseme Speaker, tangu tukiwa wadogo tulikuwa tunamuona mzee alikuwa anaitwa Kajwang ambaye amelala, akina mama Kayai na wengi na vihoja mahakamani kutufurahisha tu kwenye televisheni, lakini unapofuatilia maisha yao baadaye unapata ya kwamba hayapendezi. Ilichukua nchi za ng'ambo kuweza kujua kwamba tuko na msanii mzuri kwa jina Lupita Nyong'o, akaweza kuwa amesifiwa katika dunia nzima na kuwa kwamba yeye ni Mkenya. Hii ni kusema kwamba Kenya tuko na wasanii na tuko na talanta mbalimbali
ambao serikali ingeweza kuchukua nafasi ya kuweza kuwasaidia ili wakaweze kubobea. Unapoangalia Nigeria, tumekaa nyumbani tunaangalia filamu za Nigeria tu, ni kwa sababu tunajua serikali yao ilichukua nafasi ya kuwapatia nafasi. Ukiangalia pia katika sekta ya muziki, Tanzania ambao ni nchi jirani, unapata ya kwamba hata wao wameweza kubobea sana katika muziki pamoja na Kongo. Lakini Kenya tuko na wasanii ambao wanaweza kuimba, wengine wana mchezo wa kuigiza, lakini sababu serikali haijachukua hatua hiyo ya kuweza kuwasaidia kuweza kuboresha kile ambacho wanajua, nakuta ya kwamba inakuwa wanafifia alafu wanaondoka kwa stage. Wao wamebaki tu kutangazwa katika televisheni na katika magazeti alafu inaishia hapo. Kwa hivyo namshukuru sana Mheshimiwa Dagoretti kuweza kuleta hoja hii ili tukaweze kuichangia, tukiomba kwamba serikali ikaweze kutenga pesa kando ambazo zingeweza kusaidia. Ukitaka kuelewa kwamba Kenya kuna wasanii wa kipekee pia, ukienda pale Kikomba utapata kwamba kuna mambo yanafanya kwa ustadi sana, lakini yanabaki pale pale, kwa maana kama vile kimombo wanasema value addition, siwezi kusema Kiswahili wanasemaje, lakini kuongezea kile ambacho wanafanya kingeweza kuwa na manufaa zaidi ambacho kingeweza kuzika katika nchi za nje. Hata nikiangalia wamama ambao walikuwa wanashona vile viondo vya zamani, kwa sababu ya kuwa hakukuwa na pesa za kuweza kuboresha jambo hilo, unakuta ya kwamba ilichukuliwa na Wajapani wakaanza kutengeneza. Sasa watu wananunua viondo kutoka huko upande wa Japan. Mimi ningeomba kwamba talanta hizi, kwa sababu kuna wale ambao wamesomea, lakini kuna wale ambao pia wamezalika wakiwa na talanta za kipekee, serikali ingechukua hatua kabisa kuona ni vipi wangeweza kuwasaidia hawa waweze kuboresha, na pia mashule wakachukue hatua makusudi ya kuangalia yule mtoto ambaye ako na talanta ya kipekee ambayo inaweza kukuzwa na ikaweza kuwa na manufaa Kenya. Ni kweli tunapoendelea mbele, ninaamini kwa hakika Kenya sheria hii itaweza kuwekwa, pesa zitaweza kutengwa, na pia watoto hawa wakaweze wanaokuwa wakaweze kupata nafasi ya kutambulika, ambao pia itaweza kusaidia katika ajira ya kazi, kwa maana sio wote watakwenda katika maofisi, wengine wataweza kuwa wanaweza kujiandika wenyewe kwa sababu ya talanta mbalimbali ambazo Mwenyezi Mungu amewapatia. Sababu nimesimama pia, ningependa kushukuru watu wa Makueni Bispika kwa kunipatia nafasi ya kuwafanyia kazi kwa awamu ya 3. Nawashukuru kwa maana hawaangalii maumbile, wanaangalia kazi tunaochapa, na nashukuru. Asante sana. Asante pia kwa Mheshimiwa John Kerry.
The Honorable Member for Mathioya, Honorable Gishuki Mugo.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. First of all, I want to congratulate my brother KJ for this motion. I think this motion is timely, and as one of the speakers has said, this motion involves artists, artisans, and innovators. We know most the people or the Kenyans who are in this group, most are the young people. And the young people in this country constitute 75% of the population of this country. If you do 75% of the 52 million Kenyans, we are talking about 39 million Kenyans. So this bill or this motion directly affects 39 million Kenyans. So it's a huge, or it's a enormous bill that we really have to debate, and it has to be really refined because it is affecting most of the Kenyans. Gone are the days, Madam Speaker, when we could dictate to our children, or when our parents used to dictate to our children, we have to become doctors, pilots, accountants, and so forth. These days, our kids, they want to become artists. Others want to become artisans. So we really have to define this industry and ensure that it operates efficiently. As one of the honorable members has said, if you look at the music industry in Tanzania, in Nigeria, it's a huge business. Actually, you cannot compare to Kenya, yet we were the pioneer of some of this music. So we really have to support this bill and refine it so that most of our populations are able to benefit from it. Madam Speaker, maybe just to add on the issue of artisans. If you go back to the villages, I mean, the people or the Kenyans who are working under the NGCDF, they are plumbers, they are painters, they are welders, the people who make the windows, they are even carpenters. So these are the people that we really need to support, and we can support them through the TVETs. So if this can be anchored into the CDF, because as you know, we are trying to anchor the CDF into the Constitution. If this can be anchored into the CDF, then I think this can be a very, very great bill and motion to support our young people. As one of our honorable members has said, we know the formal employment opportunities, they are very minimal or they are very limited. So, Madam Speaker, I think artists, artisans, and innovators, they form part of the informal employment. And this is the area to go, because this industry can be able to absorb so many Kenyans. And if we can support artists, artisans, and innovators, then they start earning something. Then we can also even expand our tax base, and we can ensure that more Kenyans are also paying taxes, and they can earn a living. I think with those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to fully support this motion of Honorable KJ. Thank you.
The time allocated for this motion has ended, and I would now like to call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And because of the high interest in this motion, Madam Speaker, before I reply, I'd like to donate some time to reply to members who have indicated so much interest. I see the Honorable Anthony Oloch from Mathare, Honorable Andrew Okwome, Honorable Beatrice Adagala, Honorable Amos Mwago, Honorable Jackson Koskei, Honorable Mary Maingi, Honorable Joseph Kitari, Honorable Joseph Oyula, Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, Honorable Kirwa, and Honorable Chemorod, and the Honorable Stephen Mogaka, to each take a minute, Madam Speaker, before I reply. Thank you very much. Oh, and the Honorable Gikaria too. The Honorable Chairman Gikaria, kindly. 1 minute each.
Minute each in that order.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and on the same breath, allow me to congratulate my brother, Honorable Kiari, for coming up with this. It is informed by the joblessness that has percolated this nation, but I only want to take a different tangent as regards to funding of this artisan project. I would suggest, because this featured quite prominently during the campaigns by Kenya Kwanza, that this money should just come from the exchequer, not overburdening the already overburdened and overstretched CDF. Let Kenya Kwanza government come up with another fund, give it a name that is feasible to them, and let us move this country toward the next level, but not looking at NGAV, not looking at CDF, but a different set of money. And I thank you.
Member for Mosop constituency.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me also thank Honorable JK for this motion. I support the motion. I believe that this is the right time actually to consider our young people, the artisans, and also the artists as well, because they do contribute a lot. And looking at the unemployment rate in this country, this is a huge group of people that has been neglected, but they do contribute a lot. So I support that we either just entrench this funding from NGCDF, or like my honorable member also said, that we can consider coming up with an independent exchequer funding. But whatever it is, we should consider them, we should fund them, and so that we can reduce the rate of unemployment, and that will make a difference in this country. So I support the motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Anthony Oluoch.
Let me first take this opportunity to thank Honorable KJ. KJ, you've done yourself proud, and the very many elite artists of your generation who have taken the opportunity to see fit that they should uplift the lives and the livelihoods and the talent of young people, knowing very well that coming from the Kenyatta University Cultural Week Forum that brought you up. The only thing that I want to add to this is that as we consider this, let us look at how we can expand the percentage that is allocated to CDF, so that we may be able to feed this properly among the very things that are funded by CDF, so that we can uplift the young people and artists in Mathare, in the entire country. I support, and congratulations, Honorable KJ.
For Kirinyaga Central, Honorable Gitari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to congratulate my brother KJ for bringing this timely motion. I don't start, Madam Speaker. I want to say that KJ is a good example, because there is the tent maker who was called by Jesus, but did not forget the other tent makers. We know KJ was in that industry. Madam Speaker, we want to see Kenya go where we see people doing Nigerian movies. They are being watched. So I'm with KJ all the way to the head. Bwana KJ, I hope that this one will go to become a bill, after which we can effect it properly and engage it and properly put it in the CDF Act, NGCDF Act. Madam Speaker, as I finish, because my minute is going.
Member for Mwea, Honorable Mary Maingi. Okay. The Honorable Member for Mombasa County.
Honorable Speaker, I would like to start by thanking my brother, Honorable KJ, for bringing this motion to the House. By supporting this motion, Honorable Speaker, we shall be unlocking a whole creative economy. If we look at a country like Nigeria, Honorable Speaker, creative economy is the second largest employer in that country. As we were campaigning, we witnessed the very high rate of unemployment in Kenya, and most of the people that are affected by unemployment rates are our youth, Madam Speaker. If we allocate the 2% the Honorable Speaker is talking about, I'm not even sure it is going to be enough, but it is going to help in unlocking the creative.
Honorable Member for Mombasa County, Honorable Zamzam Chimba.
Mheshimiwa Spika, samahani sana. Mimi nimeingia hapa saa 4 kamili, sijatajwa jina langu. Mheshimiwa Zamzam Mombasa ameingia dakika 5 zilizopita. Sasa sijui kuna mtafaruku fulani katika chombo chako, au unamaanisha kweli ni mheshimiwa wa Mombasa ndio anaweza kuzungumza kwa muda huu? Niendelee.
I have two people. I have the first opportunity I gave to the Honorable Member for Mombasa, and the second opportunity, which is the last one, will be going to the Honorable Member for Kwale County. So I would like you flow in that order.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na pengine ningependa kusema mjadala huu ambao umeletwa na ndugu yangu Kiare, wanasanaa wengi wamehangaika sana, na katika majumba yetu sisi twapenda sana kusifu na kutukuza wanasanaa kutoka mataifa ya nje, lakini wetu wenyewe wanazorota kwa umaskini, na wana muziki mzuri tena mtamu sana, wana uigizaji ambao ni mzuri sana. Kwa hiyo kama Mama Zamzam Mchimba Muhammad, Mama County, ambaye pia ninajua na vijana wangu wa Mombasa ambao wanaigiza, wanaimba, wanafanya sanaa ya kila tofauti, ningependa kwanza kumpongeza ndugu yangu kipenzi Kiare kwa kuleta mjadala huu. Najua kuna wakati ulikuwa mwana sanaa. Kwa hiyo mimi na support, wapewe pesa, waweze kuinuliwa kisanaa, waweze kwenda mbele. Pole Mheshimiwa Kwale, zamu ikiwa yangu ni yangu tu, au vipi? Asante sana Madam Speaker, naunga mjadala huu. Asante sana.
Will be the honorable member for Kwale County, the honorable Fatuma Masito.
Asante sana Madam Speaker kwa kuweza kunipatia nafasi hii ya kipekee niweze kuzungumza, nami pia nipatikane katika kumbukumbu za bunge la taifa hili. Kwamba mimi pia naunga mkono mswada ambao umeletwa na Mheshimiwa Kiare, Mheshimiwa wa Dagoretti. Na muunga mkono kwa kupitisha, kwa kuweza kuleta hoja hii. Mimi nasema vijana kweli tumewaacha nyuma, na vijana tunawatumia sana tu wakati wa campaign. Na pia nisisahau wakina mama wa taifa hili. Wakina mama ambao ni wapishi wazuri sana, na hiyo pia mimi natambua ni sanaa. Wanawake wa pwani, Mheshimiwa Spika, wakikupikia chakula utadhania ni wapishi ambao wana degree au diploma, lakini tu ni kwa sababu ya ufanisi au ile nyanja wameipenda sana. Pia Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kama kuna mswada unaundwa ama kuna pesa zinaletwa, basi wanawake wale wa Kenya nzima
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think there was some kind of omission there. I want to congratulate Honorable KJ for bringing this motion. This is actually in line of what he's been doing. And I want to congratulate the people of Dagoretti South for electing him, because this is a good show, especially to the artists. The artists that we have in this country, Madam Speaker, is that they play a key role. I remember during our campaigns, most of them actually participated, and they are doing a good job. My suggestion is that they should be funded, and this can be entrenched in the NGCDF or even GAV, so that they can be able to benefit from that, Madam Speaker. Lastly, Madam Speaker, is that these artists, also every county can create a theater where
Member for Mogirango, the Honorable Mogaka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank JK Mheshimiwa for making this earth-moving motion, and I associate with all those who have contributed to support it. On behalf of the people of West Mogrango, I want to add my voice that the aspiration of every country is economic development. This cannot happen unless the bulk of the youth who have energy, talent, and skill are aligned to national resources. This motion aligns national resources to the talent, and I can see Kenya unlocking a potential for accelerated economic development. I support.
The Honorable Member for Karachonyo, the Honorable Andrew Kwome.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity and also for the opportunity my friend has donated to me to just say one or two things. I support this motion heartily because I realize that our youth are the potential giants lying there with their talents, which if used properly, this country will automatically change positively for our economic well-being. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
In this list, the Honorable Jackson Koskei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I begin by supporting KJ for bringing this motion, and I support. I begin by quoting from Patrick Rovus. He said, "There is something deeply satisfying in shaping something with your hands. Proper artificing is like a song made solid. It is an act of creation." Madam Speaker, I support this motion because artisanship creates jobs. It tells of our story as a people and as individuals, and it enhances creativity and innovation. I support this because it will create more an opportunity to preserve our history. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable John Kiari, now you can finalize your reply to the motion.
Madam Speaker, I do appreciate your magnanimity before accepting to give the positions that you could, and because of time, I do understand that even the few minutes I had donated, there is only time left for me to reply. And Madam Speaker, I do beg to reply, and while I was sitting here, I was taking notes upon notes on the bills that members of parliament have built onto this motion. And Madam Speaker, I do take very seriously the contributions of each and every single member who has contributed to this bill. And Madam Speaker, some of the notes that I have been able to take up is that members do appreciate that their hands are tied on supporting innovation, as CDF sits today, as WEZO sits today, as NGAF sits today, and even government support from other funds. The MP's hands are tied on innovation support. Madam Speaker, I've also been able to note that we can go beyond paying lip service by funding talent in this country. A question has arisen severally here, Madam Speaker, as to whether the 2% that we are proposing here is sufficient. And I do agree, Madam Speaker, given the opportunity, we can push the bar higher than 2%. Madam Speaker, an interesting point was brought up. On supporting innovation, artists and artisans, we are able to introduce cultural diplomacy that would go a long way in promoting and flying our cultural flag high and internationally. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Nikal brought an important point on righting the wrongs on the academic bias that we have in our syllabus, in our curriculum, and in our education system. Madam Speaker, there is an issue of bringing up ideas and art as collateral that young people can cash on when they are taking financing from banks. Madam Speaker, there is a big drive towards monetizing the platforms that are available, even the online platforms, Madam Speaker, and I did take that as a great contribution, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the issue of patenting and intellectual property, the Honorable Wakili Oluoch will bear me witness that we have gone a long journey on working on the copyright in this country so that we can be able to bring up the issue of ownership of patents by local producers. Madam Speaker, the question is, what are the next steps? Madam Speaker, I do believe that even beyond resolving, because even just by resolving as a house, we take a great step. I do see the need for even bringing up a substantial bill that can become an act. I also see the need of embedding this in the legal proposal that we are making on NGCDF, and I also see as domiciling these proposals also on the acts that administrate and superintend over the NGAF and the WEZO Fund. Madam Speaker, there is also the need for finding out how we shall resolve the issue of administration of these funds. Madam Speaker, finally, very interesting soft issues arose. Two of them I will mention because I can't mention all of them. One was the issue of art for peace, that even in conflict areas, art promoted can promote peace in areas where we have seen perpetual conflict in our communities. The other issue that was brought up as a soft issue is the understanding that God is the ultimate creator. And by promoting artists, artisans and innovators, we are promoting co-creators with God. Madam Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. I thank all the members who have taken time to contribute to this motion, and I do commit to taking it further to see that it is implemented for the good of the entire creative and digital economy in this country. Madam Speaker, I do beg to reply. Thank you very much.
Very well, Honorable John Kiarie. Honorable members, question to be put on this motion will be done in the next sitting. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, development of a unified national policy on small and micro enterprises.
Member 4. The Honorable Beatrice Elachi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move this motion that, aware that Kenya's economy is largely driven by the informal sector, spearheaded by entrepreneurs presenting themselves in form of small and micro enterprise, concerned that the informal sector, popularly known as the Juakali, has different segments and categories spread out in value chains ranging from agriculture, trade, manufacturing, apparels, IT, transport, the creative economy, education, among others, recognizing that there is need to improve coordination of SMEs through development of an all-inclusive, well-structured delivery platform and encompasses multiple solutions and all key stakeholders, noting that this sector has a potential to create employment opportunities to over 80% of Kenyans' working population, further noting that these SMEs have the capacity to leapfrog our nation to middle income economy as witnessed in other economies around the world, recalling that strong and consistent commitment and political goodwill can deliver the needed growth for the realization of steady and sustainable economic growth, concerned that previous support by the government to this sector has merely been a knee-jerk reaction in form of skewed funding and tokenism, cognizant that there exists no unified national policy or legislation in support of the sector, and SMEs across the entire value chain. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the national government develops a unified national policy on small and micro enterprise SMEs, detailing recognition, funding, mentoring, expansion, restructuring, and marketing of the SMEs products. Madam Speaker, when you look at our country today, since 1989, this country has been talking about SMEs. We have seen the growth of SMEs, Madam Speaker. We are talking about approximately 7.4 million SMEs who hold the key to job creation, productivity. The commitment of any government is to ensure you foster growth by ensuring you have key strategies. But the challenge is the dichotomous policy perception of SMEs has contributed also to the ineffective of these policies. And Madam Speaker, there is need to support the different recommendations that we've had proposed by different organizations that support SMEs. It's important to have a coherent, effective, and efficient national policy that will foster contribution to sustainable development and growth. Madam Speaker, as we speak today, the aftermath of COVID-19 and the crisis that hit this country, and then having a government that decided at one point, Madam Speaker, that SMEs across the country just went through what they have never gone through. That, Madam Speaker, it reached a point where we decided this institution will decide the SMEs have brought in substandard goods, and therefore the goods are going to be held by customs, and therefore at any given point everyone tried to look for their goods, Madam Speaker. In the end, we decided it has to be banned. It was very devastating for many SMEs in this country. And this was happening just because we don't have a national policy that is coherent to different sectors, that is able to bring and ensure there's a conducive environment for an SME to do their jobs or to ensure their businesses are running. Yet we know very well each business, Madam Speaker, and I'll give an example today. In Kikomba Market, Madam Speaker, that takes care of millions of Kenyans, we have a business chain that starts with the person who brings in the mutumba. The person who has imported in the mutumba will come, and there's a person who will come and open the bale. We will have young people who will now be able to sort out. We will have those who will buy and say, this is for camera. We will have those who now will say, will be ironing. All of them are making, you've created jobs for different cadre. That there's a person who just irons. There's another one who just buys what is called camera. There's the one who comes and picks what is remaining. There's a commission that you give for everyone you see within the street selling one or two things. And therefore, Madam Speaker, when you come and close that business, suddenly, then you leave millions wondering, where are they going to get their bread? And so when we speak of a government that we want to see, and I want to thank, I know we now have a CS who will be in charge of SMEs. We also have our CS who we really look up to, the Ministry of Trade, and the minister who will be also in SMEs and cooperatives, and we also have the Minister of Trade. Those two ministers, or those two CSs, are going to ensure that you facilitate a supporting system that adapts a digital way of how things can be done. And so you open up even in markets and have a digital technology that even traders can use, small SMEs can use. Today I see in the streets of Nairobi, we have everyone. But if it was structured well, then you will find people will continue with their businesses, those who have big shops. The SMEs who are within the streets can also sell, but in the same time, you have a chain that appreciates everyone must use that space. Madam Speaker, if we have functional markets, then the digital goods and services can do very well in this country. And therefore, as I bring in this motion at a time I remember in the 12th Parliament, we really talked about how SMEs were being mistreated. That today, and I want to thank the President, that indeed today those SMEs will be able to go back and start trade. We will be able to bring a container where they are sharing cost and they are able to clear their goods from Mombasa than the way it had reached a point, my goods are picked from Mombasa and are delivered in Naivasha, and then I will leave Naivasha and again come and pay in Nairobi for it to arrive. Honestly, we are a very interesting country. We are an interesting country where you find someone making millions, billions at the port. So we have others, small, who have decided, Madam Speaker, at Mombasa, so the container, the wagon comes in with $560, and then this wagon is carrying 4 containers. It will be taken to somebody's yard where I'm supposed to receive it, and I'm supposed to pay per day $400. And I want to tell you, Madam Speaker, if this government is not going to change all this that we saw, I think we will be doing an big injustice to our SMEs who right now are looking for resources, and I'm hoping the Hustler Fund and any other fund, the Economic Stimulus Fund, can come out for these traders to use this money to revive business, revive opportunities of jobs, bring back our young people to start trading, and also within the creative jobs that they had done. Madam Speaker, a good government must enhance participation in international and global trade by providing a conducive environment and regulatory framework that enables everyone, be it if I am selling a plastic container, should be with standards, yes, but then I'm able to trade. Be it if I'm trading my tomatoes, be it if I'm trading my avocados, be it if I'm trading my fruits, my pixies, which are doing very well right now in Makueni. Madam Speaker, if there's anything that we can do to revive our economy, is to build the SMEs that we have. If there's anything we have to see for us to pay our debt, is to create a conducive environment for SMEs so that they can flourish. If there's anything we can do to sit down and listen to the stories and testimonies of how, for us, we started small trades during Kibaki's time. And I will tell you, Madam Speaker, during Kibaki's time, many of these traders you've seen go down. That is the time they started their trade. They came into an administration that felt so angered. And I'm sorry to say this, because I was part of this administration of Jubilee. But there's nothing as painful when you get into jealousness of business, where the big shots will feel threatened with small SMEs who are coming up. There's nothing sad as that. And that is why we went into conflict of trade and we killed completely what Kibaki had revived in this country. It was very sad to see our businessman Humphrey being treated the way he was treated just because of competition of business. And we killed each other with our own KRA, and I'm hoping when I'm talking of a national policy and a conducive environment, I am speaking also to KRA that you must create a conducive environment for you to also receive revenue. That if you indeed give every person in Kenya an opportunity, today, Madam Speaker, we spend 5 billion a day as a country. That is what we spend. But then we end up in a deficit of 3 billion. So in a day, Kenya spends 8 billion. It means we can be able to revive businesses. You will collect beyond 9 billion and be able to ensure that every person is able to have a living, not just in Nairobi, but in every place in this country. Madam Speaker, if we enable SMEs by reducing barriers to entry and exit, we support competition and provide incentives and innovation, then I tell you, we shall be able to move this country to the next level. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, it is important to facilitate access to resource where needed and conducive, decent work for self-employed. When we look at our markets, when we look at even where the small traders are, it is important to have a conducive environment. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to invite the Honorable Amos Mwago from Starehe constituency, where all SMEs do business, to second this motion.
Honorable members, thank you very much, Honorable Member for Dagoretti. Honorable members, before seconding of this motion by the Honorable Mwago, I would like to allow the Honorable Nelson Koech to table a report on the Committee on Defense. So, Honorable Koech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, the afternoon sitting. The report on the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on its consideration of the request by the National Executive regarding deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces to the East African Community Regional Force, Democratic Republic of Congo.
The Honorable Nelson Koech, now you may give the notice of motion for the report that you just tabled.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion that, taking into consideration the recommendations of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations in its report on the request by the National Executive regarding the deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces to the East African Community Regional Force to the Democratic Republic of Congo, laid on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 9th November 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 240, Subarticle 8, Subarticle A of the Constitution, and Section 18C and Section 32(2)A of the Kenya Defense Forces Act 2012 in this House, approves the deployment of Kenya Defense Forces to the East Africa Community Regional Force to the Democratic Republic of Congo for peacekeeping operations.
Honorable members, we may now go back to the motion as moved by the member for Dagoretti. Honorable Mago, you may now second the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate my able mentor, Honorable Beatrice Elachi, for bringing this motion on the floor of the House, seeking for the development of a unified national policy on small and micro enterprises. Madam Speaker, I come from a constituency that heavily relies on trade as its fundamental economic activity, and most of my constituents are traders that fall under this category of small and micro enterprises. I stand here to second this motion because it directly affects my constituents, because most of the marketing place in Starehe is dominated by traders in this status of the economy of our people. During the campaign periods, both sides of the divide campaigned on a platform of economic revolution, with the Kenya Kwanza government advocating for the bottom-up approach, and us on our side, the Azimio side, we're advocating for that economic liberation of our nation. So I'm very pleased that we have had two motions today that center on empowerment of our people in matters trade. That's a step in the right direction, and I think it is time overdue. We recognize the role that is played by SMEs in the economics of this country. And it is only wise that we are able to recognize these SMEs, give them a conducive environment, empower them, because they are a powerhouse when it comes to the employment opportunities of our people. Down where I come from, I've risen up from being a trader in the downtown side of Nyamakima, Kamkunji area. And the SMEs in those areas, people have come from the villages and set up very serious SMEs, which have blossomed and grown to be medium enterprises, and others have gone even into the industrialization phase through the support they got from the Kibaki government. And it's so demoralizing that we are killing that spirit, where the Kibaki administration opened up the economy of Kenya by giving these SMEs chances and opening other countries and other markets that we saw the goods from. For example, China, trading with China, Dubai, Turkey, and other countries. And it has taken our people some amount of money to invest in this trade that have really revolutionized the business ideas around Starehe and around Nairobi. The trading chains in Nairobi have benefited so much by the trading policies that were put under the Kibaki administration. So when my sister seeks to bring development of a unified national policy on small and micro enterprises. I support it from the bottom of my heart, because if we were to bolster the economy of this country, I think we'd have to start with empowering the SMEs, because through the innovation and creations, they've been able to be a powerhouse in offering jobs and being employers in this country. If you look at the developed countries of the world, they have really relied on the private sector to empower the economy. They have empowered the private sector. If you look at countries like India, where they started with cottage industries, moved to handicraft industries, and have been able to arrive at the industrial revolution level through empowering the small traders and the small SMEs in their country. So it is time overdue, Madam Speaker, that we seek to empower these SMEs through recognition so that we can reduce the harassment meted on these SMEs. You can imagine at their very infant stages, there are really so many agencies directed to oversee the activities of these SMEs, but they don't do it in the correct way. They do it in a harassing way, whereby a trader will be told his goods are contraband, others are counterfeit, but they are not actually civilized, given civic education to understand what is contraband and what is counterfeit. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I want to congratulate my sister, and I stand to second this motion. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
So tell me, which team are you playing for, my dear Rene? Is it your damn father's team? Or is it mine?
Yes, you are my son, Tobias.
Do you remember? Do you remember you once asked me to help you find your son? Well, here I am. Why is Dad with another woman?
What are you going to tell her? I mean, at the end of the day, you have no right over her or her life.
What do you want? What are you doing here?
Hey, you still have the audacity to look at me that way? In your repulsive state? Really now?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean? I saw you, Almudena. I saw you in the cafeteria hugging Jaime, Gisela's husband. To be honest, I never thought you could do it. But you know what? You have no idea how much it disappoints me.
I'm sorry to inform you that you will never be able to speak again. Apart from that, your hands are useless.
No.